Good morning, everyone. I hope that you're having an amazing Monday, this very cool Monday morning, the day after daylight savings time. So it feels a little early, but I hope you guys are having a great day. Today, I wanted to share with you the story of how location 2 of SEAL Strength Training came to be. This is a really cool story. And so this is just as much for me, and my children, and maybe one day my grandchildren to watch later down the road, as it is for you guys. But for those of you who want to know, well, now you can know, because I'm going to tell you. So, all right, so I'll start back in the fall. I knew that Scout would be leaving us at some point, which of course I was very sad about. Scout was amazing the entire time she was at Steel. She was absolutely incredible, and she's still missed to this day. But I knew that Scout was going to be leaving, but I didn't know when. And I had started just interviewing some people, really just to get to know them. I told them, look, I don't have an offer for you, but I don't even have a position available for you, but let's just have a conversation and see what happens. Well, I had started having some conversations with Jared maybe a month or two prior to the news that we found out exactly when Scout was leaving. And so on paper, it made sense to just hire another part-time evening trainer like we had with Scout. But there was just something inside of me that I just felt like I needed to go ahead and make a full-time hire. I'm not sure why. It didn't necessarily make sense on paper, but I felt like that's what I needed to do. And so I made that hire, which was Jared. And actually, he doesn't have a problem with me sharing this. Before I hired him, I actually offered the position to Shaden because Shaden had already been doing amazing work at Steel. I already knew she was a rock star. And so I offered her the position, but she didn't want it. It didn't make sense. The timing didn't make sense. And so I offered it to Jared. And I'm really glad that it worked out that way because Jared has been amazing. Of course, I knew Shaden would have been amazing, but Jared has been absolutely amazing. So glad we hired that guy. Well, then as the new year rolled around, I just felt like, again, I needed to maybe make another hire. So I hired, even though it didn't make sense on paper, so I hired JP. And I thought, if I hire JP, if I make this hire, that's kind of going to take over the last bit of training that I'm regularly scheduled to do. And it really puts me into that owner position where I can spend the vast majority of my time working on the business, marketing, selling, signing up new clients, pouring into the team, supporting them, make sure they have everything they need to deliver a great service, which has always been the dream. That's what I want, is to spend more time working on the business. So I hired JP, who's been a freaking rock star. So I'm glad we hired JP. And again, none of these things necessarily made sense on paper, but it was just kind of something I felt like I needed to do. Well, at the beginning of the year, at all of our meetings, basically, I was telling the team, guys, I don't know why I feel this way, but I just feel like we need to be ready. And I had goals laid out for the year. And I actually said I would like for us to be in a position operationally where we could open a second location in quarter 3. Now, I wasn't saying that I wanted to open a location in quarter 3, but just that from an operations standpoint, we would be able to. And then I said maybe quarter 4 or quarter 1 of next year, 2024, we could open a second location, which has been a dream, a goal of mine since the day I opened the business back in September of 2015. So over 7 years, I've wanted multiple locations. And of course, if you're gonna have multiple locations, you have to start with 2. Well, you start with 1, but your next move is going to be opening a second. And so, anyway, I'm telling the team all in January, guys, I just feel like we need to be ready. I don't know why, but I feel like we just need to be prepared for anything that could happen this year. Well, 1 month later, like the beginning of February, a little over a month ago, maybe a month and a week ago. Hang on, let me back it up. So in January, I started having some interesting conversations with people who happen to either own or manage or have been around people who owned or managed 2 locations, specifically 2, not just multiple, but 2 locations. Some of them were in the fitness industry, some of them were not. But it was just interesting timing. I would say that was God's timing. But I started having all these interesting interactions with people who have multiple locations, and I got the opportunity to sit down with several of them and ask them about their experience, owning or managing 2 locations, because it's something I've always wanted to do. Well, fast forward a couple weeks, at the beginning of February, we had our pastor over for dinner, and we were talking about the business. He was asking questions about the business, and I was telling him about the business. And he just tells me in the middle of our conversation, I just feel like I need to tell you, don't be surprised if somebody reaches out about selling you their gym and it being a really good deal for you. And I said, well, it's funny you say that, because that's something Shelby and I have talked about for a long time, which is, I'd love the opportunity to maybe, instead of starting a gym from scratch, take over somebody else's facility, take over an existing gym. Well, 4 days later, a girl that is an amazing trainer, an amazing gym owner, named Chrissy, who I was a trainer with 10 years ago at Gold's Gym in Vestavia on Highway 31. We were both trainers there. She reached out to me about purchasing her gym. This was a little over a month ago. And it's literally the perfect scenario. I'm not going to get into all the details, but it's literally a perfect situation. And so the opportunity was too good, too amazing, and quite frankly, I would say obviously a gift from God, just served up on a platter. Could not have asked for a better situation to start a second gym in. I'm in a gym mentorship program, or a mentorship program for gym owners. And my mentor was like, dude, this is insane. I had other people in my life who were like, this is insane. You couldn't have asked for a better situation. Truly a gift from the Lord. And so, look, I prayed about it. Everything made sense. The staffing situation, it all made sense why I felt like I needed to make those hires. And let's go back to Shaden and Jared. I'm so glad that Shaden said no, because I'm so glad we hired Jared. Jared has been amazing. And you know what? Shaden just signed a full-time, an offer to come full-time in April, starting April 3rd, Monday, April 3rd. Probably the first day we'll actually have that gym open. So Shaden will continue to work her Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings downtown, and then she'll spend the rest of her days in Vestavia. And that's amazing, because had she said yes to the position in December, we would not be in the same staffing situation that we're in today. Literally perfect. Absolutely perfect timing. And so I'm not even really writing this story. I'm just a participant in this story, in God's amazing plan for Steel Strength Training. And time again, let me back it up. I told Shelby the other day, when I chose our core values, faith, health, and family, I wasn't just, taking a shot in the dark. Those really resonated with me and what I wanted to build and how I wanted to build things. But as time has gone on, those core values have taken on much more meaning than they did when I first chose them. They had meaning when I chose them, but today, those words, faith, health, and family, have been interwoven throughout the Steel story. And again, I don't feel as if I'm the one writing the story. I'm just playing my part and trying to be a good steward, a faithful servant of what and who is in front of me, and ultimately having faith that God has a plan for Steel. And I'm so excited to be part of it. But that is the story of how he came to having 2 locations with Steel Strength Training.